welcome. This is the Film Inquiry Roundtable, number 10. My name is Kristy Strouse. I'm editor-in-chief of Film Inquiry. I have some wonderful Film Inquiry members with us today, and we're here to chat about our favorite directorial feature debuts. Should be a lot of fun. So thanks for joining us. So first, I'll just go around and say hey and see how everyone's doing. So how's it going, Jake?
Doing well, Kristy. Thank you very much. I'm Jake Tropila, writer, editor at Film Inquiry. Excited to be here at this milestone. We've done 10 of these. It's exciting. Yeah, I'm ready to talk some directorial debuts. And as we were discussing off air, there's a lot of them. I guess everybody has to start somewhere. I'm going to throw it over to somebody who has not been with us for a while, but is now back and appears to be in some sort of wasteland or fiction film. Kevin, how's it going?
Doing good, doing good. I just moved to New York a few weeks ago, and I'm holding out all right. And
your view is spectacular.
Yes,
is that
the view is quite nice. Well, it's an amazing burnt out view of Brooklyn. Hang out with Ryan Gosling here,
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wasn't here for the past couple hangouts, but so I'm glad to be back.
Yeah,
Happy to have you.
Throw it over to another face we haven't heard from in a while. Musanna, how are you doing?
Not too bad, especially considering it's 2 a.m. over here in the UK. So
Such a rock star.
Oh man, dedication.
yeah,
Love it.
I really wanted to go on the last two, although I have to say in hindsight, the one about the birth years probably wouldn't have been too interesting for me because I was born in 95 and that's kind of a weak year. It was just Braveheart dominating everything, So I don't really know what else stands out from 1995. Maybe Toy Story 1.
Was there a Keanu movie? Because that's the most important.
I think that's
Schwarzenegger.
Johnny Mnemonic, which is probably not the Keanu movie you want to talk about. And there's another movie I don't want to talk about, which I used to like before things ruined it. And that was The Usual Suspects.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
the frat boy's favorite movie.
Man, I would have had a really good discussion if I was on that one because 94 is a great year for movies.
Yeah. So in 95, you have, one Mel Gibson movie and one Bryan Singer movie as the two that were the most acclaimed movies of the year. Not really a good talking point.
Just some quick points here. I want to say 95, we've got Seven, Casino, Heat, Showgirls. Lahane, you got a banger of a year.
Yeah, Casino.
Okay.
Casino's great, and so is Heat. Yeah.
Yeah,
Heat's amazing.
It's 7.
Yeah. To Die For, coming soon.
I like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, not too bad then.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Musanna. Bailey Joe, how are you doing?
I'm good. It is 10 a.m. here in Japan. Top of the morning to you. And yeah, I'm Bailey. I am an editor at Film Inquiry, and I think this is my 4th roundtable.
Cool.
I'm very happy to be here.
Cool. This is our first time meeting. So,
really?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I recognize your voice, but I don't know. I was drunk my first time.
At 10 a.m. What a trooper. I love it.
I was nervous. But no.
No shame.
Yep. Everything's good here, and I'm very excited. I have a long list, and I'm sure most of you will mention it, a lot of them before, but I hope I have some surprises, so we'll see.
Yeah. And last but certainly not least, rocking a sweet scarf, we got Clement. How you doing?
I'm good. I couldn't figure out which one to wear because I didn't remember which one I wore the first time, so I just knotted 2 together.
That is indeed 2 scarves.
Like
how many do you own?
Or we have a whole closet.
I have 14, but there's winter and summer scarves, so it's like.
So have you been wearing one for each hangout?
Each day.
Last time I had a great Wordsworth scarf.
Well, I think you and I also haven't met.
Yeah, no, this is our first time chatting.
Yeah, so good to meet you.
Also Musanna, first time chatting.
Yeah,
Musanna as well. Yeah, first time.
Long time fan, first time caller.
This is beautiful. We're bringing people together from all over the globe.
So fun. I love it.
But I'm Clement. I'm in Jersey. I've been writing for Film Inquiry since last May. I'm about to publish my 30th article with us, which is very exciting.
Yay!
Congrats.
And former youth ambassador, which is now Hayden's job, I guess.
That is
Yeah, I did
true.
not know. Well, I must have known, but I forgot he was that young until we did the birth year.
Yeah,
Was it his? No, he didn't do the birth year. Wait, was he? Yeah, right?
yeah,
Yes.
he was.
He
I
did.
think he's 99. I don't know.
Wow, 99.
Or
No,
No, I
he's
don't-
No.
17. He would have
I
been
don't think he
2003.
was.
oh,
in that
so
one.
2003.
No,
Oh,
we just
wow.
talked about it in the next one. That's
Mhm.
all,
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
Oh,
'cause
wow.
99 was a great year, though.
99 was a great year.
We're not, if Hayden's watching this, we're not age shaming you at all. We're
No,
actually
no. No, I
very
love it.
jealous that you're young.
We're all jealous. Yes.
Yeah.
And
just
we're
trying to
sorry we kept
start
you
our
from the
Keanu
school.
movies.
Best one.
He had two. He had both
Maybe.
Matrix sequels in his
Mhm.
birth year. So
Yeah. Lucky.
No, he's
Shit.
03.
he is 03, yeah. Reloaded and
Equals were both
Revolutions.
released. Yeah.
He has Return the King, dude. Here's
Oh,
Return
yeah.
the King and the
There you
first
go.
Pirates.
Well, now that we've spent 10 minutes talking about past, I love it. No, and I actually love different ages. I love that we have people like from all over the world. It's awesome. So thank you. And it's also great when you guys get to meet each other. Some of you for the first time. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So thank you for joining me today on this Thursday and Friday, Bailey. And actually technically Friday, right, Musanna? Because it's 2 a.m.
Musanna,
So yes.
Yeah.
So Thursday, Friday, vibes going. So yeah, so there are like so many that I have listed. That it's like tough for me to pick, but I'm hoping that we'll get an opportunity to just like maybe at some point if we don't mention, we just scream them out loud and just like
Yeah.
ask,
Cool.
you know. Oh, and also Jake is also podcaster since we did recently do our little podcast blind spots. I got to throw that out too.
That's true.
Because we are
Episode 2
expanding
is
our
out
film
today.
inquiry podcast network. Yes, it is indeed.
Yeah, I heard. I really like the premise of the podcast, actually. It's really, really cool.
Why, thank you.
Yeah.
It's also got really cool art
Yeah, I like it. Yeah.
by Jake.
Oh, Jake did it? Cool.
Yes.
Amazing.
Stop.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So there's like so many, I feel like there's a bunch of obvious ones I'm going to say, but I'm going to just go with a couple that were meaningful to me, which ironically, I think I brought this movie up before, but Donnie Darko, Richard Kelly, it was just really,
Oh, okay.
really huge for me when I was younger. That movie in general, I probably know frame by frame as I do so many others, but yeah, it was just really influential and it was terrific first, swing. Also, The Virgin Suicides, Sophia Coppola.
Oh, I forgot that was her first.
Yes, I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure I'm right. But I have such a long list. So I don't want to name a bunch, but I am going to say also Ex Machina. Ex Machina. Alex
Oh my
Garland.
God, you're right. Yeah, you're right. Jesus.
You okay?
Yeah, I feel so dumb that I forgot Ex Machina. God damn.
I love
Well,
that
that's the
movie so
thing.
much.
If you miss, someone else will pick it up.
Exactly.
Oh
yeah,
yes,
'cause I have,
yes,
like,
that's exactly it. That is
I have
exactly it.
many more, but I will stop just because I don't want to like take other people's, but I've got some good horror ones in there too, so hopefully they get some rep. But yeah, those are just 3 random on my long list. They're all terrific.
I love Ex Machina.
Ex Machina is
That was-
great. Like
It really
I
is.
I probably my jaw probably fell to the floor when I saw it the first time in the theater. Actually, you know what? Alex
Ouch.
Garland did that to me both times. I think both Ex Machina and Annihilation. I was probably like during the last half hour.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a perfect movie.
Yeah.
When that came out, I made a resolution that I would not watch any trailers, nothing. I would go into all my movies dead cold, and that was the one I was most excited about, that I didn't know anything. And it was a very nice memory seeing that in theaters because it was a matinee, and my husband went with me, and we literally talked in a cafe afterwards about it for 2 hours.
Nice.
That's a great memory. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The movie is very unique in my opinion because I think I think we all here have seen quite a few movies that talk about artificial intelligence, right? And most of those films, they're all good or great. They usually talk about how AI robots, how similar they are to humans, right? But what made Ex Machina really interesting, really disturbing, is it like talks the other way. It talks about how humans are very similar to machines than we would think. It's like probably the only film I could think of where it really talks about how humans are also programmed. Our brain, our body, it's also programmed like code. And that was very unsettling for me. It's a very clever way to subvert what I come to expect from the artificial intelligence subgenre.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah. Well, good choices, Kristy. I'll jump in. I came up with a long list myself, but I really wanted to isolate two. And I was kind of looking more at the rare cases where maybe somebody's directorial debut is also their best film. And I think for me, number one with a bullet in that regard is Michael Mann's Thief. That movie's incredible. It's one of my favorite like subgenres of a crime film, which is like the existential loner, which owes a bit to like Jean-Pierre Melville's Les Samurai. But if you haven't seen it, James Caan is in what I think is his best performance. He's this New York safecracker. It's just kind of like a pulled in for one last job scenario, but it's beautifully shot. Like it's mostly just set at night across like the rain slick streets of New York with the neon signs reflecting off of them. The score is by Tangerine Dream, which is amazing. I have a vinyl copy of it. I love. So I as much as I love Heat, which many declare Michael Mann's best, I think I might go to bat.
Collateral.
I can't love Collateral that much. It's great, don't get me wrong, but I put many other Manns above it. And the other one I thought of was Blood Simple by the Coen brothers.
Oh yeah, that's a good choice.
Yeah, and that movie is. You could also argue like what your favorite is of theirs, and I think a lot of people pick something from the middle, like Fargo or Miller's Crossing. I also love, or No Country. Serious Man. Inside Llewyn Davis. What did you say? Lebowski, of course. They have like 8 masterpieces, but something about Blood Simple I just really love. Like you kind of see them just immediately arrive fully formed, and just the way they move the camera across like the bar top, and it like leaps over a drunk patron who's passed out, and a lot of the finale with the gunshots through the wall and the shadows, and it's also Frances McDormand's first role. It's a hell of a way to start a career.
It's on Criterion, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Criterion released a Blu-ray of it. It looks beautiful. If you haven't seen Blood Simple, by all means, please check it out. I have a few more that I'll mention later if they don't get covered. But anybody want to volunteer to go next?
I'll go because I only have 2.
Sure.
I can only think of 2. The one I really want to throw out immediately is The Witch from Robert Eggers.
That was one of mine.
Yeah, which I think is the best horror film in the past 10 years. It was a film that I could not stop thinking about after I first saw it in the theater, and it's deeply unsettling, and it's exceptionally paced. It's a film where watching it, I felt like the director has made 20 films already. He's already made a ton of horror films. And this is like the way he puts The Witch together. It's like so easy. He makes it look so effortless, the way he creates atmosphere, the way he gets those performances out of the cast. I think it's exceptional.
There too. Brilliant debut. Said brilliant. You just mentioned the cast, and there was a brilliant debut performance in there as well.
Yes, that's right.
Taylor Joy.
Yes, that's right.
That was your first film?
That was,
yeah. I think so.
Oh, wow.
I think so. Yeah.
She's been busy.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite actors working right now.
Yeah.
The production value is great. It was a little tough for me to watch in the theater with the old English, but that just gave me another reason to watch it, to buy it and watch it again. Really, it's exceptionally well shot. The music is really creepy. It's like sound driven. It's not really melody driven, so it's all about making you feel uneasy. There's no cheap scares or cheap violence at all. It's just like 90 minutes or like an hour 40 of nothing but atmosphere and this family slowly losing it, and it's great. It's fantastic. It's one of the best. That if you like horror, you have to watch that.
I will say, Eggers has quite an ear for period indecipherable dialogue. Between that and the Lighthouse, I don't know how he came up with how his actors should speak.
Yeah,
He's really brilliant with that.
I can't wait to see what he does with the next one.
Yeah.
How
He puts a
decipherable
lot
is
of research into his films, and like it's one of the few like Salem era like depictions that like the actual people in Salem, like historians, were like, whoa, you actually got things like right. And he used actual dialogue from actual court documents of witch trials. And it's all natural lighting too, which is extremely difficult. And then he went like the complete opposite direction with Lighthouse. Like, amazing job.
Yeah, I know a bunch of people who think The Lighthouse is his best so far. I respectfully disagree. I think his handling of pacing is way better with The Witch. And I think it's because there's more actors involved. There's like a more interesting dynamic amongst the family in The Witch that keeps me really invested in it. The Lighthouse, I think, is great as well, but it maybe because it's only 2 actors in it, it goes on for a little too long for me, maybe. But
I feel like the debate between Lighthouse and The Witch is like choosing between $900,000 or 1 million. You know, it's still a great benefit either way. It's both fantastic films. And
yeah. So real quick, the other one that I had in mind is the French film Raw from Julia Ducournau, which is also up there, one of my favorite horror films in the past 10 years. And it's like, it's interesting because when you read about what the film is about, which is, just to sum up, it's about this young girl who goes to a veterinary school. She's vegetarian, but then through this crazy hazing process where she has to eat like a raw rabbit kidney or something, it kind of unlocks this craving inside her. And I don't want to give too much away if you still haven't seen the film. What I will say is when you read the premise and hear what it's about, it will make you squirm, it will make you cringe, but I promise you it is way deeper than that. I think this is a very moving coming of age film about fitting in, about love for your family and your close ones, and discovering your own identity and sexuality. I think it's a very clever play at, there's a lust for flesh metaphorically and literally in the film. The performances are great, the score is awesome, and the ending is absolute killer.
Yeah, the ending was really fantastic.
I'll say this,
I'm very excited.
I'll say this about Raw.
You should see this, yeah.
When I went and saw it, if you haven't seen it, all I'll say is at the theater in LA, they were handing out barf bags before you went into it, which I've never had that experience happen before. So,
Does it deal with eating disorders?
No.
Okay, I'm thinking
no,
of another.
You're thinking of Swallow. That's about pica disorder. That one is with Haley Bennett. That one came out this year, and that one's good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's also a movie just like Raw. It takes a premise that at first sounds like a gimmick that's just meant to make you squirm, but the director and the writer, they both have something way more sophisticated in mind. They're just using that premise to tell its story better. And the last thing I'll say about it is I watched Raw with my girlfriend, and by the time the movie was over, she said out loud, that was like one of the worst things I've ever seen. And I said out loud, that was one of the best things I've ever seen. And then she got up and she didn't want to talk to me for like the rest of the night.
I've had that conversation a few times.
Yeah.
That's great.
On. Who wants to go next? Musanna?
I might get a little bit indulgent, so I'd prefer to do the transition once we've had our initial ones, if Clement or Bailey don't mind going next.
Sure.
Okay,
I could talk a bit. So, if we want to talk werewolves and eating flesh, I love Shopping for Fangs, which is the absolute bizarro debut of Justin Lin, who directed it with Quentin Lee and would go on to direct like Star Trek Beyond, a bunch of Fast and Furious movies. Like this major Hollywood director comes from directing this small time Los Angeles set, totally wacky queer movie about like waitresses and werewolves and murder and kung fu, and it is the most unbelievable 90-minute experience ever because it's super low budget and grungy, but a ton of fun. So with Anya
I've never even heard of that movie.
who looked it up, The Witch was her first proper. Yeah, it's great. I went on a Justin Lin kick because I was going through the Fast and Furious movies, and it's a bizarre beginning. But Anya Taylor-Joy is really good at working with first-time filmmakers because The Witch was her first like technical screen performance in a film. She was in like a cut scene from Vampire Academy or something from the year before, and had done TV before then. But she also was in Thoroughbreds, which was, is that Corey Finley? Is that the director?
Yeah.
Which I love because
I love that movie too.
Yeah, because it's like the director's doing like one of those like, young adult kind of coming of age stories, but it doesn't feel like it's set in any of the other worlds that like, 8th grade or Booksmart are set in, or Lady Bird. It feels like a completely different like dimension entirely.
Yeah.
And then this year she did Emma, which I adore. And it's a first-time filmmaker who got famous for doing like magazine photography as a career. I think her name is Autumn de Wilde, and it's so incredible. Pardon?
Oh, I said that's a great name.
Yeah,
it is.
it's a great photographer name. But I love Emma so much because it feels like it's part of that like Joe Wright Pride and Prejudice, also a debut, universe of like these super prestigious literary adaptations with like glowing sunlight and like picturesque orchards, but it's like she's building all of it from the ground up, and it also feels like a totally lived-in world with like sassy, relatable characters in it. So I love that.
Right on.
Really good.
Good choices.
Right.
Yeah.
I like you had a theme with Anya Taylor-Joy there.
Was that on purpose? Because that's kind of.
I was looking it up, and she's done a lot of stuff. I
So
like.
it was in the moment. It was like during this was born. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you weren't
Well-
listening to anyone else. Okay. You were researching. No, I love it. That's awesome.
So we'll respect Musanna's wishes. Bailey Jo, do you want to throw out yours?
Yeah, I guess I'll go with ones that I have a big list too. I guess I'll go with ones that like were really big for me that just so happen to be debuts. So Anchorman was a huge movie for me as a 13-year-old. Adam McKay's like debut. For like I got the DVD for Christmas, and I'm sorry to everyone who interacted with me because I only spoke in that script for years. It's very surreal and hilarious, and I'm a big fan of a lot of the comedies that like spread from that, and I really like where McKay's career has gone. Like The Other Guys is a really great like secretly like anti 1% movie, not secretly, but like it's very easy to miss. And then going into like The Big Short, which really blew my mind with how like the whole thing with the recession was so complicated, and he did a great job of like condensing it. And then he did Vice, which I enjoyed, but it was very like, oh, okay. It was interesting. I really like his work, and like the the fact that he can bring out the best in Will Ferrell is amazing. And then Hayao Miyazaki's debut movie was Lupin the Third, Castle of Cagliostro. Do you guys know that one?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I do.
Yeah.
It's also one of my favorite of his. Not many people like that one.
It's a really great movie. It's an amazing franchise. You know, everyone here loves Lupin Sensei. Like, and it's amazing looking at it and then watching his other movies and like how really they're his, you know? Like I started watching Future Boy Conan, and it's incredible, like his distinct like aesthetic, how even when he's doing other people's canon or other people's work, it's so his. And then it allowed him to do Nausicaa, which is I think still his best movie, and then Ghibli, which few things can compare to Ghibli.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I mean, Miyazaki has an amazing filmography. I think he's one of the few directors where you can ask like 10 people to rank their favorite films from Miyazaki from like best to worst, and you're going to get 10 totally different lists.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And like, it's funny, I actually went to a Ghibli store yesterday, and every time I go there, they have like newer stuff, and I'm like, oh, yes, more Porco Rosso, more Castle in the Sky. Yeah, if you guys want me to send you anything, I can.
Oh my God, yes.
Yeah. Like, it's amazing. Like, and you know, I live here, so it's like everything is Ghibli. And I was looking into that, and I realized there are also two other incredible animated debuts, Don Bluth's Secret of Nim.
Oh yeah,
Which was really big for me because I was a huge Redwall kid. I don't know if you guys read those, but if there's a little mouse who's the hero, I'm in. And Don Bluth is an exceptional filmmaker.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love everything he's ever made. And it's like kind of thinking back on his filmography as like a kid trying to remember them. It's like a fuzzy, warm feeling.
Oh yeah.
Like it's sensory. And and Secret of Nim is just so damn good.
Yeah, there's always a sense of nostalgia when you look at his animation, whether it's Secret of Nim or The Land Before Time. Don Bluth is, he's easily one of the greatest, most influential figures in animation.
Yeah, and like I love all his movies. And then there's also like one of the big animated movies that people don't really think to mention, but then it's like, oh yeah, duh, and it's Brad Bird's Iron Giant.
That was one of mine too. Yeah, I love that movie.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny, it's insightful, and you know, who doesn't cry at Vin Diesel?
Yeah, so you meant
a giant robot.
Yeah, so you mentioned Iron Giant. So recently, last week, I did a tweet thread. I asked people like, are there certain shots? Is there a single shot from any movie that you can name where just seeing the shot can make you tear up, can make you cry? And a lot of people said the shot in the Iron Giant when the Iron Giant says Superman at the end, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, I good choice.
It hit something really like deep in all of us, like that feeling of like, especially like for kids, you're told you need to do this and be this.
Yeah.
And when you don't want to, like, that's powerful to be like, no, I'm not a gun.
Yeah, and it only gets better when you get older, because when you become an adult and you watch it again, then you start seeing like the whole Cold War backdrop of the story. You know, you start seeing what the adults are up to in that film, right?
Totally.
Awesome.
And then I guess I'll mention one more. I did a writing series about female directed movies. And there was one that I found from a Japanese director, and she was the second female director in Japan for like a very long time. And it's called Love Letter by Kunio Tanaka. and it's known as like a romance melodrama, but it's very, very, very good, and I highly recommend it to anyone. She was known as more as like an actress, and it was her first movie, and it's based off a novel, and literally the author was like, you are the only person that can adapt this.
What was
Which
the name of that one
huge
again?
in the 50s. So it's called Love Letter. The Japanese, it's like 1953. The Japanese name is Koibumi, which is love letter. And it's a very, very, very like lovely, interesting look at post World War II Japan and like the occupation and stuff. And it's this guy dealing with, you know, this internal struggle of like really hating the Americans, but also just kind of having to deal with like this new world he's in, and like the women who would like date and sleep with the GIs and stuff. And it's really, really a pleasant movie. It's kind of hard to find. I could only find it with Spanish subtitles, and the Japanese is very old school, so it was hard to follow through that. So luckily I took Spanish in high school, but it's a lovely movie, and I think it's important to watch and remember, because like her like platform in Japanese cinema is very important to note. So yeah, and I have
Excellent.
a whole list of other ones, but I'm sure you guys will mention them too. Yeah.
Yeah, you're being cut off for now. Oh, Musanna's up.
All right, I'll try not to be too indulgent, but this was harder than I expected because I had to realize that breakthrough doesn't necessarily mean the debut. Like, I think of films like Election and The Sixth Sense, then I realized Alexander Payne and Shyamalan had done movies before that, you know, respectively Citizen Ruth and Praying with Anger. And another one was Paul Greengrass's Bloody Sunday, which it turns out he had directed a rom-com before that with Helena Bonham Carter and Kenneth Branagh called Theory of Flight. I've never heard of it. It was released in 1998.
Paul Greengrass doing romantic comedy?
Exactly. So it was a, you know, it was a huge.
Sounds like a shaky relationship.
Hey.
Very much. And in some cases, when I thought of, you know, the breakthrough, the debut, like in Roberto Rossellini's Rome Open City, which is one of my favorite films, but then I realized he has done a film that was lesser known before that, so it doesn't count. And then another one that kind of was a bit devastating to learn was that Taika Waititi's Boy, that came to mind so instantly, but he had done Eagle vs. Shark before that, which is easily my least favorite film of his, whereas Boy is my favorite. So then I really had to start digging, and I think there are some obvious ones, especially when you look back deeper into film history, like Godard. Breathless is probably still my favorite film of his, aside of that, or Pierrot Le Fou, and also Orson Welles and Citizen Kane. But I think when we're talking contemporary, I just want to list off a few that we haven't mentioned, and I'm not entirely sure that these are common examples. Well, somewhat. One of them would have to be Hong Jin-na, who directed The Wailing, and before that he had directed The Yellow Sea, and before that he had directed The Chaser, which is an excellent thriller that I think kind of set the blueprint of the sort of things he was interested in and how he was interested in making them. I'd also have to say something that's very pertinent for the South Asian diaspora of the world is the Indian filmmaker Karan Johar. He had directed this film, which the title of which essentially translates to Something Something Happens, and it's basically a college-oriented romance story, and it very much has been seen on televisions in every South Asian household. It's been in Indian cinemas since the 1998 when it was released. It's very much like something that the community, everybody knows and has seen, and it's often referenced when you watch films. They'd be talking about that as an example of love or characters and stuff. But whilst I also identify as South Asian, I'm also British, and one of my favorite British ones has to be Guy Ritchie's Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels. I miss the Guy Ritchie of that era where where he did that and Snatch and also Rock and Roll a few years later, which were all
We
about.
all do.
Yeah, The Gentleman came close, I think, but
You know, I liked his Sherlock Holmes movies. They were perfectly entertaining.
Mhm.
they were no Snatch or Lock, Stock, though. I mean, I do like Sherlock Holmes, but and something else I want to say is that when I started thinking of this, and I think everybody here can relate to, is that because it was so hard to think of these things, we often have to look at our experiences at festivals, because you have a lot of debuts that happen at festivals, and some of them don't really break through. Like I kept using the word breakthrough because you just think of the movies that you're familiar with that are popular, that have succeeded in some way. But then there are films like Salih El Hosseini's My Brother the Devil, which I really liked, and that's a film it's essentially about, it's set in urban London, and it's about two brothers who are, really embedded into the whole London gang warfare scene, except one of them hides a secret that you learn about halfway through. And the only really recognizable face in there is, forgive me if I pronounce his name wrong, but Saeed Tagmawi. He was most recently in John Wick 3 as the guy who Halle Berry meets in the desert. I can't remember his role very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been in a number of films, but he's the only recognizable name in this film, and that one was a really different perspective to all the like British street life films that were coming out at the time, mostly directed or involving Noel Clarke, and she's just disappeared. She did Danny Boyle's little series Babylon in 2014, then she's not done a film again, and I'm really sad about that. Also, I often go to documentary festivals, and there are three filmmakers that have really stood out to me. The director of Minding the Gap, Bing Liu.
Yeah.
Yes.
The director of Quest, and the director of Dina. And the thing that these three guys share in common is that their films respectively took 3, 5, and 10 years to make. So then once they've made their debut, you're not sure if you're going to hear from them for a while, because they're just out there shooting the next doc for years and years and years. So sometimes in documentary, a debut is all they get for a while at least, So
Right.
yeah, but talking about great documentary debuts, I'll just give a shout out to two familiar ones: Errol Morris, who did Gates of Heaven, and Michael Moore's Roger and Me. That was also a great one, I think. And the last category I sort of broke my list down into was actors, because that can be a tough transition. But I'd say my two favorites, they're both recent examples of Bradley Cooper's Star is Born, and John
Yeah,
Krasinski,
that's right. Yeah.
and John Krasinski's A Quiet Place.
Yeah, that's right too. Yeah.
Oh, and Ben Affleck's Gone Baby Gone too.
That was a great one.
Then we're also Jordan Peele's Get Out.
That was my next one.
I wanted to quickly jump off that point you made before, Kevin, about you mentioned Julie Ducournau for Raw.
Yes.
And you mentioned Robert Eggers. And it seems like if you can pull off a horror film for the first time, like, you're a legend. It's not just them two, it's also Jennifer Kent for The Babadook, Jordan Peele, of course, Ari Aster with Hereditary, Anna Lydia Mirpur with A Girl Walks Home
Alone at Night, which is great. Yeah.
And there's one more I want to mention whose film opens next month in England. I'm not sure in the US. Rose Glass, who directed Saint Maud. Great film.
Oh, I want to watch Saint Maud so bad.
I got to see it at London Film Festival last year, and I think people are going to love this one.
Oh, yeah. Hell yes.
So yeah, if you make a horror film, that seems to be the best way to make your debut in recent times. Anyway.
Yeah, there's been like this huge surge of really great horror films in the past like five or so years, and these directors, Jordan Peele, Robert Eggers, Ari Aster, they just come out and they just make a film as if they've made it for so many years before that. Like, no, just gonna drop this.
I just want to. Sorry, there's two more that I think were quite overlooked. Which one would be Salih El Hosseini, who directed Wajda, the first Saudi Arabian woman to have directed a film. That was a fantastic debut. I got to see her sophomore film, The Perfect Candidate, also at last year's London Film Festival. But I'm not really sure if it's had a strong distribution plan. It kind of seems to have, suffered under COVID, I think.
Right.
It might have already been released. I'm not sure. And the other one is Denise Gamze Erguven, who directed Mustang. And I loved that film so much that I thought if she retires, I'd be okay with it because she might not be able to make a better film than that again. It was so good. I know she directed one afterwards called Kings with Halle Berry and Daniel Craig. It got horrendous.
Oh,
reviews.
really? She did Kings?
She did that. I never saw it.
Oh,
was it as bad as they say? Was it as bad? Was it so bad?
I didn't see it. Nobody did.
I heard bad things about that one. Yeah.
I'm hoping she bounces back because that debut really instilled a lot of trust in me with her as a filmmaker. So Mustang, excellent debut.
Yeah.
So wow, mic drop on Musanna. You named.
Yeah.
You did the speed round there, buddy.
Yeah.
Good job.
I mean, I thought maybe they could provide some, jumping off points.
No, they definitely did actually, because the whole acting, also, festival. It made me think about how there have been a couple that and I think some of them are in production to make their second movie, but ones that stood out, like Nia DaCosta, Little Woods. And Eva Vivez, All About Nina. I pronounced her last name right. But yeah, and there was a lot that you guys mentioned that were on my list. But also The Station Agent, Tom McCarthy.
Yeah, great one.
That's a good one. And District 9.
Oh my God! Yes! Oh my God!
I keep blowing your mind. We keep blowing your mind, Kevin.
District 9 is one of the best science fiction films ever made.
It's definitely amazing.
Ever made. The documentary style approach of the first hour. Well, no, pretty much the entire movie is like a fake documentary, and it's amazing.
Yeah. And for a well-known film, Shawshank Redemption was Frank Darabont's first film.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Isn't that kind of crazy?
Really?
It's so just
wow.
obviously renowned. Yeah.
The Citizen Kane of our time.
Yes. And obviously you could say Reservoir Dogs. Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. That's a TNT classic.
Reservoir Dogs is one that I had in my short list.
Yeah.
Good pull. I would also throw out just a few others I had. I keep mentioning this filmmaker every week, but David Lynch's Eraserhead is a masterpiece. Just the sound design alone in that movie is something to die for. Also want to throw out another series that we all love here. The Evil Dead was Sam Raimi's debut.
I've been waiting for it.
Oh.
I know, right? Wouldn't be on brand if I didn't mention that. And then I also want to shout out George Miller's Mad Max.
Was his first?
Fury Road, as amazing as it is, I like something about how low key the first film is.
Have you guys done a roundtable about originals versus remakes?
I think we did. Yes.
Yes. Damn
We're
it!
doing it so long we forgot. No, yes, we definitely
Damn
did.
it!
Yeah.
Because Jake literally just named two franchises where I believe the remake is better than the original.
And the remake of Evil Dead is also a directorial debut.
And I don't consider the Mad Max a remake. It's
you don't think so? Okay, fine.
I mean, it's the same guy.
Yeah, true. Okay, true. But I'm one of the few people I like the Evil Dead remake more than the original.
That's crazy.
But Evil Dead 2 is better. I'll put that out there.
You're okay.
I realized in my monologue.
Evil Dead discussion.
So I realized in my monologue I managed to say every single one of the ones I listed except for one. Just a quick shout out to John Singleton for Boys in the Hood. That was nice.
Yeah.
Was that recent?
Boys in the Hood?
Yeah.
No, that was like 92.
1992.
Oh,
Yeah.
then okay.
He passed recently.
Passed away, yeah.
Oh, because there was like a South by Southwest film last year that sounds really similar to that. That I must have got.
I think you're talking about Boys in the Wood.
Oh, okay.
Which got renamed to Get Duked for Amazon Prime. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I believe so.
I got it mixed up.
Right.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject of Boys in the Hood, a good sort of I suppose spiritual successor to that would be Fruitvale Station, which was Ryan Coogler's debut. And also kind of like, I mean, in the vein of like something like District 9, where it blends documentary and real life, like
Yeah.
down to where they're using cell phone footage from.
Yeah, I mean, it opens with it.
Yeah.
It just straight up
From
tells you
Oscar
this
Grant's
is a true
death.
story. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like really solid stuff from
Yeah.
everybody involved. Like
I
Michael B.
think
Jordan.
Coogler is definitely another director where I feel like everything he's made so far has been amazing. I cannot wait to see what he does next.
Yeah, and like a super consistent vision with everything too.
Yeah, absolutely. Super consistent.
And something that came out this year too, not just Emma, that I really loved as a debut, was Vast of Night, which when I first saw it, I was like, this is so gimmicky, and like I get it, it's the 60s, fine. But like I've been going on a string of watching like new releases from this year, and it's not the best movie that I think I've seen, but it's the only one that stuck with me, and the only one that I've constantly like found myself thinking like, I want to go back and like just put myself back into that world and, you know, listen to all the dialogue again, because it really unfolds like a really well written, tightly wound play.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the way they craft set pieces around dialogue.
I think Jake wrote a very favorable review of that recently on Letterboxd. Is that right?
I did. I actually just watched it for the first time like less than a week ago. I was really quite taken with that movie. It's like you said, it has like just this walk and talk opening that feels completely natural for two young adults playing teens in the 50s, and not just how they talk, but also like how they operate old technology. Like they're using a switchboard and a ham radio set, and they're like pros at it. And there's this really incredible tracking shot that I learned they later shot on a go-kart that goes from like this one building in a town all the way across town into a school, and then it goes back across the other side of the town into like a radio station. So yeah, that's a good movie. I really liked it.
Cool.
That's one of the ones where you watch the shot and you're thinking like, oh my God, the effort it would have taken to get all those cars like period accurate.
Yeah.
And make sure you don't see anything that's not from the 50s. Jesus. Yeah.
I have a question for everybody.
Sure.
So, you know, one of the ones I was thinking of putting on my list, but I didn't when I was thinking about documentaries, was Ward El-Kataib's For Summer. And that film last year was, is really, really compelling because it was from her perspective, being in Syria and making this, working with Channel 4 to distribute the footage to, the global public, and then eventually make an entire feature film out of it. And as a result, I noticed the whole discourse was around, her experience in Syria and stuff like this. But then whenever she spoke, she would also speak about like the sort of things she's going to make next, and just being a full-time filmmaker now. But I'm not, like, I have to admit myself, I was kind of surprised to hear that, because sometimes, I'm not sure if it's very common, but sometimes you feel like the director's made this statement with a film, but I'm not sure if a filmmaker is what they're going to intend to continue doing, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Have you ever felt like a director made a strong statement with a debut film, but didn't necessarily have to, continue making films because that was just the best medium for the message at the time? If that makes sense.
Well, I don't know about the latter part of that statement, but I felt like when Jordan Peele put out Get Out, he was making a big statement with that one. Like, absolutely, it just like smacked everyone in the face with his social and political and racial commentary. But he continues that with his next film, Us. He just kind of changes it up a little bit, makes it a little bit more obscure. But yeah, in terms of what the first half of your statement about the debut being a big statement, I think Get Out was a very big one from Jordan Peele.
I think my question, come to think about it, might be just too specific to when I think about documentaries, because some of these documentaries don't really get asked at all about their craft. It's really about the message. It's about whether, if they're making a film about climate change, they'll be asked about what solutions can we.
I think that's largely because documentaries are based on real things. And usually when you finish a documentary, like some of the first questions you'll ask is what happened next, or what's going on about the situation now, right? Like usually when a documentary ends, you have like end text that says what's going on now, the situation. And most of the time the story is not over unless it's like a biography of a person or a place or something like that. Usually these stories don't end. And so, yeah.
I think my perspective is colored by the fact that I have worked in documentary, so I know, you know, a lot of stuff about the practical element of it and how you have to think creatively a lot of the time, even if you're in the heat of, you know, the moment. You could be at, you could make a movie about, you know, a literal riot, and you're gonna have to think about how to creatively convey the message in a way that's palatable to the audience you're trying to reach. It's like Michael Moore said, when you make a film, when you make a documentary film, you have to make the film before the message.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So
absolutely. I personally find documentaries a bit difficult to review, and like the way I personally approach it is I review it as if it's a film. And so I review, so when I critique it, I just think about this: how is this structured, how is it paced, how much time did it spend talking about this part of the subject matter versus this part of the subject matter, and then weigh it. It's similar to like a movie spending too much time in act 1 or act 2, or you know, that kind of thing, you know. But then there are some documentaries where the subject matter is very difficult for me to not get my personal feelings out. Like it was like one of my earlier reviews for Film Inquiry was for this documentary on Roger Ailes, who is the founder of Fox News, and that was quite a task for me to review. To put aside for a second what I think
I understand. I understand completely. To just to reframe my question then in a very different way, but have you ever felt like, you know, this, sometimes they say a director has like one story in them. Have you ever felt like a director really gave their story in the first film and the rest of the filmography just did not live up to it?
Yeah, actually, because I was thinking of Persepolis a lot when I was thinking of debuts.
Yeah, that's a good example.
And that's like, you know, Marjan
amazing film, by the way.
Atrapi made this like incredible graphic novel about growing up in the Islamic Revolution in Iran as a young girl, and then adapted it into like this incredible animated film. But then she goes on to do, I haven't seen Chicken with Plums, which was her animated follow-up. But then her next movie after that was like The Voices with Ryan Reynolds, and then Radioactive with Rosamund Pike. And it's like completely lost the like, you know, the train from the station where she started off. So I think it's going to be interesting seeing her career develop and you know, taking note of whether or not there's going to be a through line like that, or it was just like, you know, this is the story she was really passionate about telling, and then the rest of it is just trying to develop her craft as a storyteller.
Well, that reminds me, I really want to see what Lulu Wang does next.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of mentioned the farewell.
There's one film on my list that the director has only ever directed one film. Usually she does like TV. But Maggie Carey's The To-Do List. You guys know that one?
I've heard of it.
With,
that was very funny.
What is her name?
Aubrey Plaza. So
yeah.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's amazing. It's the one movie where every single person I show it to, they go out and buy it themselves, like the DVD. But it's interesting because the movie is basically about kind of her being like this kind of Leslie Knope type student growing up in the 90s, but being obsessed with boys. And the whole thing is that Aubry Plaza is this like valedictorian who wants to have sex with this college guy, and so she's studying up on sex, and it's so funny. It's one of the best teen sex comedies I've ever seen, but it's the only one she's done. But it's also like she has kids, and she usually does like comedy TV, and she's now divorced from Bill Hader, who is now dating Rachel Bilson, who was also in the movie, and he was in the movie.
Wow.
So much drama.
This
But
is the drama we need to bring to roundtables every week.
Yes, and who doesn't love Bill Hader? Let's just like
Oh, yeah.
throw out love for Bill Hader. Just
I
for
have-
a
I
moment,
have to
a
say
moment
that-
of love.
I have to say the cast in that film is generally quite strong. There's a lot of like faces we know from comedy shows, comedy.
And I love the Leslie Knope comment too, by the way, as I'm a big
Yeah.
Parks fan. So gotta
Yeah.
get that in. Oh, go ahead.
well, it's just a great movie, but I think I would really love to see more of her movies because I think she's a great filmmaker, but so much of it is like semi-autobiographical, just like with more humor. So it would be interesting to see what she can pull out next with that.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that movie.
If we're
Yeah.
talking one and dones, I have to say Charles Laughton's Night of the Hunter
Oh yeah.
is one of the
Ooh.
best horror movies ever made. Robert Mitchum is terrifying in that movie. And yeah, it was like a notorious bomb, and it was panned on when it was initially released in like 1955. Yeah, it's now since been reclaimed as a masterpiece, but unfortunately, Lawton never directed anything else. But yeah, it's such a stunningly assured debut as they come. And especially when it's primarily working with child actors, they're very good in it, and a lot of haunting imagery in that movie.
Yeah, child actors make or break your horror movie.
It's true.
Like, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like in the Babadook, I wanted that kid dead, man. I was
Yeah, I
glad
hated that kid
when he
too.
made it through.
Annoying.
That was also one of my problems with Hereditary, is that the little girl's like very obviously playing into like the creepy little girl trope, and it's like, oh, here we go. It's gonna be an hour of
Wasn't
this.
she like possessed? Yeah, no.
No, she
He-
was like
Yeah,
the
but-
normal.
Oh, she was just
The host
weird.
she was the host for Paimon.
Mhm.
Right, she was
Paimon.
the host. Yeah, that's what I mean.
So her whole thing, I think, is more tragic instead of like the horror creepy kid.
Yeah.
Because like she knew it was gonna happen. Like everything was like set up the way
Right.
it was
I say
supposed to go.
possessed, but yeah, host. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's the same
Don't
thing.
lose your head over it though.
Oh, damn! I just watched that and so good.
Yeah, that part's gut wrenching. I don't have one and dones, but I do have two more first, if I can throw them out, if it's allowed.
Sure.
Spike Jones being John Malkovich.
Oh my God, really? That was his first?
God, I love how much I'm shocking you, Kevin. Drew Goddard, Cabin in the Woods.
Mhm.
Oh.
Yeah.
Kristy, what are you doing to me in this round table?
Oh,
Just dropping some of my all-time favorite films that I totally forgot were debuts.
I know, it's impressive, right? Like I said, I couldn't believe how many I came up with, and I prepped like 10 minutes before we started.
Oh,
So
the
who
Cabin in the
knows?
Woods. It just shows I did a crap job with my research.
I don't
Well,
think so.
Cabin in the Woods and District 9 catch you off guard because it's like
They're
you're
so
walking into like this fully formed world already. You know, like they
Yeah.
have, $100 million budgets to work with.
Yeah. The theater probably the theater that I saw the Cabin in the Woods in, the crowd must have hated me. It was really strange because like it was a pretty full crowd, and my best friend who has made a film with me before, we went to see it together, and I told him, like, based on the marketing, it looks like it's very different. We need to check it out to see exactly what the hell's going on, what the hell's up with that film. And I wasn't sure if the crowd was liking it or not because no one was laughing. And, and there were quite a few faces who were like at the front and middle rows who were like turned back and were like looking at my friend and I, because when it got to the elevator scene in the third act of The Cabin in the Woods, my friend and I were like in stitches. We were like howling with laughter over the references and just the complete irony of the situation and how clever it was being, how tongue-in-cheek it was being, and no one else was laughing. And I don't get it. It's like one of the funniest films I've ever seen.
And it only gets funnier too on rewatches when you know
it does. And every time
happen.
every time I rewatch it, I have to pause the film right at the shot where it has the whiteboard where it lists out all the creatures on it. And if you look at the whiteboard, one of the creatures on it says Kevin.
And now we know what that is. No, I love that movie. I would love to you could do like a whole series from like a show of just them doing different, like, with different experiences with that, different creatures and different parts of the world.
Oh yeah.
So I would watch it, like, just repeatedly.
Yeah.
Speaking of elevators, segues, one of my favorite debuts is also Elevated to the Gallows, which we've already mentioned Breathless, and the new wave had this whole like host of really amazing, totally new like visions among Breathless, Elevated to the Gallows, and 400 Blows too.
Oh my God, yes.
Which is really just incredible. And then La Pointe Court, I think, is Agnes Varda's debut, which I don't think is good, but you got to start somewhere. And there's cats in it, so there's worse places to start.
So I just recently, like the past month, saw 400 Blows and Breathless for the first time ever. And I adored 400 Blows, but I'm about to throw out my credit card here. Can someone explain to me why Breathless is good? Because I really didn't get it.
Kevin had to move to New York because an army of French people came to his doors in LA with pitchforks and torches.
Because I don't get it, because like the lead male character was such a jerk to me. I felt like him getting the thing that happened to him at the end. I was like, thank God you deserved that, you asshole. I don't know.
They're also both horrible to each other though. It's like a Bonnie and Clyde situation, but like they're both just like terrible stuck-up people.
Also, just as a cinematic experience, they feel just so radically different to everything that came before it because of the jump cuts and the fourth wall glance and the intertextual references. And I always appreciate watching that because when most of the films from the 60s, they don't really play that way, or from the 50s.
Right,
even.
sure.
But, yeah.
Okay.
I find Breathless very funny. Like I watched it again like last summer for the first time since like film school, and I, much like Kevin in Cabin in the Woods, I was laughing the whole way through.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, I respect you.
I watched the American remake, and you can just see how much they strip away so much of the originality and quirks because they were very traditional in the filmmaking and the characterizations.
Who stars in the remake again? It's Richard Gere and who else?
Sam Ingenue.
I wanted to go back to a point you made, Clement, where you said how District 9 feels so lived in because it looks like a $100 million film. Well, there's one expensive film that was a debut that I really liked, which was Joseph Kosinski's Tron Legacy. Is anyone else a fan?
Not a fan, but go ahead.
I'm mixed on that film because I think that film is like a visual treat. It's like amazing in the visual department, the costumes, the
and the soundtrack.
The soundtrack is
It's a great Daft Punk album.
Yeah. Like everything visual about it is great. I saw it in 3D and it's like one of the better films in 3D. But I can't recount the story anymore. And I think the lead actor is kind of flat. And young Jeff Bridges is really distracting.
I would argue all you need is the visuals and the soundtrack for Tron Legacy.
Yeah, I totally respect that because the visuals really are that great. And so, yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't hate it. It's just not for me.
Olivia Wilde was awesome, and it was pretty disappointing to see that they put Jared Leto in the lead of this upcoming third one rather than her. But, she made Booksmart, which was a great debut. So
very good debut. That actually reminds me because South by Southwest had two debuts that I really liked as well. Because there was one that dropped last year. It was called Thunder Road by Jim Cummings, and I thought that film was great. And it was based on the short film that he made, where pretty much the short was just the opening scene of the film where he's in the church. And I find that film to be very emotionally honest, and I think it's paced really patiently and organically, and the way it reveals information to the audience is done in a very naturalistic way. And so I really like to see what Jim Cummings does next. The other debut that I just thought of, I saw last year at South by Southwest, was called Yes, God, Yes, which dropped recently on VOD, directed by Karen Maine, and it's based on her own story. It's like autobiographical. It stars Natalia Dyer, who plays the older sister in Stranger Things. And it's about this girl in the 90s who grew up in a very, very Catholic school, who discovers masturbation through this racy AOL chat. And she feels really guilty about it because it goes against everything that she's taught at school. And the whole film is like this really sweet, warm, and hilarious series of contradictory situations that the main character keeps finding herself in, and she's not sure what to believe and constantly thinking she's going to hell for having these thoughts. And it's really funny, and it's really sweet, and it's really short. It's only like 80 minutes, and it's like it runs at the perfect length, and everyone's good in it.
Bailey, do you think that sounds like a good cousin to the to-do list?
I think so, yeah. I was actually thinking it'd be fun with Teeth.
Oh my God. Teeth, a horror film for guys, a comedy for girls.
Oh man.
Good.
Put that movie on in a room of like the equal ratio of the sexes, and
actually, you know what else I think is a horror for guys but a comedy for girls is Audition.
Yes. Oh yes, I love Audition. The only part I can't stand, like I have to literally leave the room, is like the vomit scene, but that's just, vomit's hard for me like that.
Yeah.
But ooh,
does it make you feel better knowing it was real vomit?
It does actually.
Okay.
That's good. It was good.
Wow. But like I'm fine that it's in the movie. It's like it's very hard for me to watch people make themselves throw up. Like I just watched Foxcatcher, and I'm like, oh no, wrestlers, no.
Oh, Channing, no.
Yeah.
An amazing movie, by the way, Foxcatcher. I don't know what it is, but like just by the way Channing Tatum and Mark Ruffalo walk in that movie, the way they walk, you could tell they're wrestlers. I don't know why. Like there's something about how they're hunched over when they walk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got like some of the best directing that year. Like there's a scene I still go to when I show my friends, like in certain examples of scenes that I think are very well directed that don't need dialogue at all, is the scene near the beginning of Foxcatcher where Channing Tatum and Mark Ruffalo are just training.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It's an amazing sequence. You learn everything you need to know about their relationship and how it's going to set the events of the film in motion. And it's amazing.
It really
and Steve
is,
Carell hasn't even shown up yet.
Yeah, it is a great film. And we covered a lot of movies, so like, awesome job, guys.
I think that's every director.
I know,
We got them all.
I know it like has the star of He Who Should Not Be Named, but American Beauty, Sam Mendes. I mean,
that was his first.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I just referred to Kevin Spacey as Voldemort.
I feel like that's really tough, right? Like I know a lot of people who love that film until they can't anymore.
Yeah, it is still like, I mean, unfortunately with everything there, but I mean, technically it was, it is.
I think like the only film with Kevin Spacey that I can still watch is Glengarry Glen Ross. It's probably the only one. And
Who's
that's
Kevin Spacey playing that?
LA Confidential.
LA Confidential 7, yes. So I think it's time for Drake. How did I say this? Jake Trovia. Yeah.
Jake Trovia's Trove of Trivia.
It's trivia time, boys.
It's trivia time, everyone. The moment you've all been waiting for. So, everybody here is a returning guest, but just in case, it's been a while for some of you, so I'll read the rules. I will ask 10 film and TV-related questions to the group. The first person to say the correct answer will earn a point. Some questions will have the possibility to earn more than 1 point. The person with the most points at the end of the game wins. In the event that there is a tiebreaker will become available. Do you have any questions?
No, let's do it.
All right, here we go. And again, of course, I stay on theme, and some things may have already been discussed, so we'll see how this goes. Question number 1. Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless heavily features what editing technique?
Okay.
Jump cut.
Jump cuts.
Clement. Got it. 1 point for Clement. Good job. I know I was keeping quiet during the Breathless talk because of the.
Trying to think of another question.
Yeah. All right.
Working.
Question number 2. Which American sitcom features Superman in every episode?
Seinfeld.
Correct.
What?
It's true.
Yeah.
There's either an image or a reference to Superman in every
Really?
episode of
In
Seinfeld.
He has a
Seinfeld?
little figurine on his back shelf, or he has a
Oh.
magnet on his fridge.
Oh.
Or he brings it up
interesting.
in conversation.
Well, speaking of
Oh,
Seinfeld,
right.
well, speaking of Seinfeld, I tried. I'm a block away from Tom's Restaurant.
Oh, very
Oh.
nice.
Oh, wow.
And there was a
And I
question a few.
They serve killer
Okay.
breakfast. It's really good. Their food's good.
That was a question, a trivia question before.
Alrighty.
Time.
Question number 3. I'm so excited. The 2019 Charlie's Angels film has Kristen Stewart as one of the 3 leads. Name the other 2 lead actresses.
Naomi
LOL.
Scott.
I heard everybody said Naomi Scott, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Naomi
Okay.
Scott, and then
Who's the other one?
I didn't say anything because I'm still in shock about that movie.
Why was it bad?
Oh, Naomi Scott.
Nobody saw it.
I
Emily
only
saw
recommend
it. She
Airplane.
loves it.
Superman, Mark Cameron Diaz, and Lucy Liu in this house.
All right. I
I watched
think
it on an airplane and I fell asleep, and then
Oh.
I woke up.
That's
and
all
I,
you need to say. I watched it on
Wow.
a plane. That's all you need to say.
Oh, the trailer looked good though.
well, I think Kevin got the first name first, and I'm willing just to give the point to him because I don't think anybody's going to come up with this name. Any takers? For
Is
the
it
third?
Dominika Brzanska or something?
No. Kind of on the last name. It's Ella Balinska.
Ella.
Ella.
I mean, they're beautiful women, but
Exactly. All right, here we go. Question number 4. What is the original name of the Bates Motel?
ooh. Don't know.
Wow. Like you mean like when they were
When they bought the motel, what was its original name?
Oh.
Like the TV show.
Hmm.
Yeah, is that something from the show?
It is a show thing, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, then
I was
I
trying to
know.
include
I was just thinking. I was like, "There's no way Psycho
It's not,
actually had
it's not the Hitchcock.
Is it
film.
like your
Okay.
Naked Gun question from last week? where it's
No, it
just
is not
the
just the motel.
like just
Maybe it's
Oh, yeah,
Geen
The
Motel.
The motel.
No, it's not the.
Speaking of the motel, there's a gag and just random trivia. There's a gag in 21 Jump Street, and there's a highway chase in the middle of that movie. And in the background, if you look really closely, there's a billboard that literally just says, "This is a billboard."
That's good production
Those are
design.
great movies.
And,
What's it
well, I'm
called?
gonna throw out a hint for this one. The hint is that it's also the name of a Stanley Kubrick short film.
He did short film.
That's my reaction too.
I didn't think
Oh,
he would
man.
stoop so
All
low.
right, this one. Well, that's how he got his start.
Yeah.
He had
Oh
three,
man,
he had 3
did
short
from the-
films
he did
before.
shorts?
Kieran
I'm
decided.
watching.
He shot all of them with the Hubble telescope too.
Okay.
Only know some
Number
boxing
2.
film. It's not the boxing one, is it?
What was that, Kristy?
Oh, I said you have to give us another hint because this is bothering me that I can't picture it.
Another hint. Oh God. It has to. The name has to do with the ocean.
Oh, I knew it was something with water. Oh, fuck. Sorry. It's bothering me.
I
Like, I
have
can,
no
like, picture
idea.
it.
Just think ocean equality.
Like, see,
Give me synonyms
Fuck.
for those 2 words.
Seafair.
What did you say?
Seafair.
Correct.
Nice.
Oh,
The Seafair Hotel.
I knew it was
Oh, you could have just said the Blue Angels in Seattle.
Blue Angels. All right. Question number 5. This question is worth 2 points. What was Clive Barker's directorial debut? And which horror icon did it introduce?
Hellraiser.
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 Bailey Joe with a bullet. Got them both.
I
That's
love
another great,
Hellraiser.
I didn't mention it, but that's another one of my favorite debuts. Question number 6. What was the first original Netflix TV series?
Orange is the
Uh,
New Black.
No, it's not. It's not
it's,
Orange.
oh,
Orange is like the third.
It's not orange.
Oh,
it's the one with Funky Johnson. Oh no.
The very first Netflix original
first-
show.
The original Netflix production.
Original. Yeah.
Oh, production. So it could be a
Yeah.
film.
Well, it was a show,
It was a show. Okay.
but yeah,
This was
and it's not the one with Fonka Johnson.
It's not.
Not Hemlock
Straight
House
Hemlock
of
Grove.
Cards.
It
Yeah,
is House of
Hemlock Grove.
Cards.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, that's a good guess. Yeah, it is House of Cards.
Sorry.
And we get to
Voldemort.
bring.
That came before Hemlock
Yeah, I was
Grove?
just gonna say we get to bring the creeper in again. All right, sorry.
Again, I do not plan these in advance. All right. Question number 7. How many Oscars did Get Out win?
Oh,
One.
one. The original screenplay.
Bailey Joe got it. It was 1. Good job, Bailey Joe. Bailey Joe, you were crushing it. You have
Oh
4
my
points.
God.
Everybody else has 1 point. Guys, you have 3 questions. We have 3 questions to possibly tie it up with Bailey Joe. Let's go to question number 8. In the television series Lost, what was the departing city and what was the arriving city of the
Australia.
fated flight?
Oh shit! It's Australia and Los Angeles, but it's Sydney.
Yes, correct. Sydney to Australia. Or Sydney
Sorry,
to
I know
LA.
I got
There's-
really excited. I got really excited about that one. Sorry, I was like, ah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah, I was like lost. Oh, Kristy.
All right. Question number 9, and this one is tough. What is the name of Rob Reiner's director character in This Is Spinal Tap?
Oh, no.
I need to watch Spinal Tap.
And
again. I haven't
here's
seen
my
that in a
hint.
while.
It's an amalgamation of 4 famous director names.
ooh.
And I picked this because it's another one of my favorite debuts.
Yeah, that was on my list. Spinal Tap.
Choked on vomit. Yeah, the vomit actually wasn't his.
She calls it Dublin. She can't pronounce Dolby.
Please go to 11.
It goes to
Yeah.
11.
I know it ends in Berg, right?
Yes?
But I can't. Q-Berg?
Is it duh something? Duh or Dubber?
Yes?
Scorsese Burger.
You guys are like getting parts of it. It's-
Wait, you said famous directors, right?
yes,
Mark
his
Wahlberg?
name.
What's Marty? Oh,
It
Martin. First shit. What?
his
going on?
his name is his first and last name is bits from 4 famous filmmakers.
Did we capture them all?
You've gotten 3 of the 4. Put them all together, and what do you got?
Bippity boppity boo.
Martin Lucasberg or something.
Well, that's the closest one yet.
Okay.
Anybody got anything?
Marty D. Brian Lucas? Marty Martin.
Who's the 4th director, though?
He's an Italian filmmaker. I'll say that.
Is
Ooh.
it Federico Fellini?
Yes.
Oh.
Is it Martorico?
Puerto Rico.
How many of these can we
I've never
make?
seen Spinal Tap.
just play the combination.
This is.
I know.
I'll be right back.
That's like a dangerous tip to say it's an amalgamation.
A
That we're
C
just like
B
sitting
D
here.
A D B C A D C B.
Who's gonna come with the right order first?
I'm gonna go with Martin or Marty as the name. I think.
All right. I'll give everybody 30 seconds to think, and you're all each going to give me the final. Everybody's going to have a chance to answer. Maybe we should wait for Bailey Joe to come
But
back.
did we distinguish that those were the 4 directors? Because I don't know if you said that was accurate.
So,
Scorsese, Lucas.
okay. So,
Spielberg.
no, the directors are, it's Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, Federico Fellini, Brian De Palma.
Oh, okay.
Now, did you hear all those, Bailey Joe?
Sorry, I had to get the mail.
Okay, that's true. It is mail time in Japan. So the directors are, it's Martin Scorsese, Steven Spielberg, Brian De Palma, Federico Fellini. I'm going to give everybody here 30 seconds to write down the answer. Everybody's going to read off their answer, and whoever's closest will get the point. I think that's the safest way to do that. Your 30 seconds starts now.
Shall we write it down?
You can write, or you just memorize it.
Are they actually the names, or like are there like hybrids?
It's not the full. It's not the full name. It's chunks of each name.
Oh, okay, okay.
Just, you have to figure out what's the full proper name. You're at.
I'm just gonna write down what
10
sounds
seconds.
the nicest.
I know, right? So like Bailey Joe kind of made me think of something. So
Just like mesh it all together, and whichever
right.
one sounds the sexiest.
That's time.
oh, okay. What do we do? I'll like yell it at once.
All
Or you just call out a person and they'll
right,
read it.
I'm gonna go. Kevin, you have your phone. What do you say?
Martin de Bergolini.
All right, I'm gonna write these down. These are fun.
No phones, Kev.
I'm right. Oh, I sorry.
It's on his, hopefully, it's just his notes
yeah,
app.
yeah.
All right.
Martin de Bergolini.
It's
Christy, what's
actually like
yours?
blurring into 2049. Yeah, Marty de Bergolini or de Berglini. Sorry.
De
So
Bergolini.
Marty de Berglini.
I went a bit simpler. I wrote Marty DeBergi.
Okay.
Does sound better.
I did Marty Del Federberg. Federline.
K-Fed. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's related
De
to.
Feder Sezi.
I said
Go ahead.
Margarico de Scorberg.
Marika de Scorberg.
That's the answer.
Well, guys, I gotta say, I think we have a clear winner. The closest is Musanna.
Hey.
The name, who I
Yay.
think may have even got it right. The answer is Marty DeBergi.
Okay.
Yes!
Oh, that's so much less
You just
complicated.
said that,
Marty
and I'm like,
DeBergi.
that's it.
Yeah,
Right.
DeBergi.
Good job.
Marty DeBergi. All right.
I need
job,
to watch
Musanna.
that again.
It was a good team effort, though.
That was the most fun I've had watching people answer a trivia question yet. Right.
I think it was Fellini. Like Marty DeBerg was my. And I just had to add like a little.
It's funny.
Yeah,
The
that's what
Fellini, he
sounds
only
like
took the I at the end.
Yeah.
Marty
Marty DeBerg is what I was thinking
Marty
too.
DeBerg.
Then
Yeah.
mess with me by saying the other name.
And I felt like that's just too short. I wanted to read it all out. Bergolini just sounds nice.
I thought that sounded too long.
I'm gonna frame these names.
Too long? yes, yes, do it.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. Question number 10. How many Wes Anderson films are not a part of the Criterion Collection?
How many are not part of it?
Yes.
2? Yeah. 1?
So
One
Yes.
for sure. Isle of Dogs is not on there.
I should say French
And it
Dispatch
shouldn't
does
be.
not count.
Right,
not
of course. Right, it's not released
So
yet.
I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
Bailey Joe got it. It is one.
Oh.
Which one is it?
Do you know
Isle
which
of
one it
Dogs.
is, Bailey Joe?
Isle
Okay,
of
well,
Dogs.
it is Isle
Ina
of
no
Dogs.
Shima.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Isle of Dogs. Although I would not be surprised if Isle of Dogs eventually gets it.
Yeah. Well, guys, that was a rousing game of trivia. I don't even know if I need to go to the tiebreaker unless you want me to. Bailey Joe got 5 points. Musanna and Kristy tied in second with 2. Clement and Kevin third with 1. You guys want to hear the tiebreaker, or should I save it?
Yeah, just do it. Just do it.
All right. Who can name as many rules in Fight Club as they can?
Oh,
Don't talk about
number
Fight
one,
Club.
don't talk
Don't
about
talk
it.
about Fight Club.
Number two,
Don't
Chaotic.
talk about Fight Club.
you do not, yeah.
Make
First and second.
soap,
No,
snowflakes.
Snow
No
Snowflakes
touching of
is
the
not a
hair
rule.
face.
no, that's not a rule. I know what the last rule is. The last rule is if you're new to Fight Club, you must fight.
Correct.
Good one.
Anybody get any others?
Is there a no touching of the hair or face rule?
No, that is not a rule.
Oh,
There's something similar to that.
It is like a no something. It's like a limit.
So
No
first
eye
two,
gouging?
everybody got the first 2 rules.
Is there a no eye gouging rule?
No,
No
Hmm.
rules.
I'm
No
not gonna
kissing?
try.
Fighting
there are rules. There are 8 rules.
No
of Fight
falling
No,
in
I mean
love.
when it-
No falling in love.
Welcome
That's-
to Fight Club. The only rule is you can't fall in love.
So the rules you guys missed: if somebody yells "stop," goes limp, taps out, the fight is over.
Yep.
4th rule: only 2 guys to a fight.
Mhm.
5th rule: only 1 fight at a time. 6th rule: no shirt, no shoes. 7th rule: fights will go on as long as they have to. And Kevin said the 8th rule, which is if it's your first night, you have to fight.
Nice.
Yeah. But good job, guys. Bailey Joe wrests the championship from Kristy's hands.
We'll get it back, don't worry.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Congratulations. Yeah. that
Good
was
times,
awesome.
everyone.
It was good
I
to
have
end on
one-
a Fight Club.
I have one final question.
Sure.
Are there any upcoming debuts you're looking forward to?
Actually, I remember that Anton Yelchin was supposedly working on a directorial project before he passed away. And I'm not sure what the progress of that is, like if he actually shot any of it or anything, but I'm really interested in what that would have been.
Now, that's a very interesting question because how would we know what to expect when we haven't seen prior work?
I think the best way would probably be to have keep an eye out on the festival circuit and see what people are talking about.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's true too, I guess.
yeah, the
Festivals aren't really happening.
From the documentary Love Antonio, which was a terrific documentary about Anton, by the way, I think that I think he was pretty early in that. So I don't think that it was finished, unfortunately, but it's a great doc if you haven't seen it, just to give that credit out there.
What I'm looking forward to is Halle Berry's debut called Bruised, which is about an MMA fighter who's coming back to, try and restore her career. I do love martial arts films, so I'm really interested to see how she does this one, especially after the experience of John Wick 3.
Yeah.
Nice.
Keeping an
I
eye
really
out
want to see more actresses like direct movies.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like there's a big one that we're all forgetting.
Regina King,
Greta
199,
Gerwig
but it's not a debut.
debut. Greta Gerwig. Did anyone mention that?
Oh, no one mentioned
Oh
that.
yeah,
Nobody
Lady Bird.
mentioned Lady Bird.
I mentioned Lady Bird briefly, but I didn't talk too much about it.
Oh, sorry.
I can't believe no one mentioned Night of the Living Dead.
Oh wow.
We failed.
Yeah,
Right.
we failed.
Well,
I'd like to
I
read.
failed the biggest tonight. 4 movies that Kristy named that I did not think about at all.
It's okay, Kevin. You're in the wasteland. We forgive you.
There's one more.
Got them service.
There's one more beloved one. I'm not sure if any of us mentioned, which is John Huston's The Maltese Falcon.
Oh yeah,
It's a good debut.
I've been to the restaurant that's in that movie.
Nice.
That they used. They serve really good food.
They're still open?
Yeah.
Wow.
Another
well,
big
I
one
don't know
is,
if they are for the pandemic now, but last time I went, they're still open.
You guys know Mike Nichols is? debut?
Yeah. Is it Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
Yes.
Oh,
Fantastic.
So
Fantastic.
apparently this is a conversation that could go on.
Yeah.
And I thought we had covered a lot, but it's interesting how many pop in your head during this like roundtable too. Like
I think one of the other fun topics we could potentially do when it comes to like debuts like this is maybe we could like do one where we talk about like some really, really popular directors, but then we only talk about their debuts. Like for example, like Christopher Nolan, for example, and we only talk about Following, like
What their
that
worst
as an
films?
example.
Or best last films.
The worst
I was
film
thinking
from a
Swan
director
Songs.
you like.
Yeah.
I could talk about Eyes Wide Shut for 3 days. So yes, please give me that opportunity.
it takes
Well-
3 days to talk about that movie.
That's probably my favorite Kubrick movie.
Really?
I'm leaning that way too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well,
I
what's
like
your
to watch
favorite
on my
after
birthday.
that?
Strange Love.
Strange Love? Okay, so that's mine.
Probably,
Barry Lyndon. That's mine.
probably
That's a
Shining.
good one too. Shining, yes.
And
love it.
then 2001.
Okay.
I mean, that's a given. And I mean, or Clockwork Orange, but I like the book way more. That was
Yeah,
like a
I
big
do
book
too.
for me in high school. Yeah. But no, I love Eyes Wide Shut. I love it. I don't like Tom Cruise in it because I don't like Tom Cruise, but he doesn't bring it down too much for me.
What's your problem with Tom Cruise? He's like
Can't act.
he is putting his life and his body on the line for your entertainment.
Well, not in Eyes Wide
Can't
Shut.
act. He's a
But sure,
Scientologist.
not eyes what he's sure, but yeah.
And I don't like him.
Well, Tom
Well-
Cruise is our #1 viewer, so he's gonna be heartbroken. He's probably gonna go jump a motorcycle off a cliff.
He'll just go jog.
Or like in South Park, he'll just hide in a closet and refuse to come
He'll
out.
stand on an apple box, you know.
Yeah.
Or
No.
rock if it's the
Really
outsiders.
short.
One last quick fire. Are there any directors you can think of, especially actors turned directors, who made a movie and it kind of failed and they've never done it again?
Ryan Gosling.
Chris Evans also had one with Alice Eve, and that kind of went nowhere.
Yeah, that didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
Well,
Never even heard of
And
that.
I think
So-
Courtney Cox also did one, which kind of just went
What?
nowhere as well.
okay, so I know. Oh, actually, is That Thing You Do Tom Hanks's debut?
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
it is.
that's a good one. That's
Yeah.
a good one. But I was gonna say he then did another one called like Larry Crown, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a dud.
Larry
Yeah.
Crown rocks. There's a great scene where he cooks French toast for a lady and then takes a motorcycle to college. It's great.
That is important to
That's on
consider.
the poster, right? Where he's taking her on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
Isn't it more like a moped?
Like a
Or
moped,
something?
yeah.
It's like a segue. I don't know.
It's a
God,
hoverboard.
there's so much.
Joe Bluth
Yeah,
here.
right.
So he's actor turned director
Yes,
that then
nice-
made a
nice
dud,
name.
huh?
Nice
I
work.
mean,
I
isn't
think-
that most of them?
I think even though Clint Eastwood has made a lot of great films, he's made quite a few duds. Like
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
1517 to Paris is a dud. And then he did
I
another
played
one
Scripture.
called like what's it called? Jersey Boys? That was
Oh,
a dud
yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
And then I don't think this one is bad per se, but I didn't care for Invictus and I didn't care for Hereafter with Matt Damon.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
like yeah.
that was a great post discussion, guys.
Yeah.
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 Well,
Wanna
we're still recording, so
Thank everybody for coming out.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for the great trivia. Congrats, Bailey Joe. Thank you, everybody. You're gonna frame that. You have to. Thank you, everybody, for joining.
I'll just take that mug right behind you.
Looking
Oh
forward to the next one.
yes,
I clocked you moving it. Very good.
yes. Well, I realized it wasn't quite in frame. I think
Frame
we're doing.
it. Frame it, take a photo of it, tweet it. Ask people like which one's the right one. Do you guys know which one's the right one?
There's some. I'll rewrite. I got just chicken scratch, but I'll.
I feel like Jake needs to do his impression from Archer, though.
But close us out. Take us out, Jake.
Well, you really know how to put a guy on the spot there, all right? I mean, come on. I thought we were just going to get through the end of this, and then you have me drag out the Archer voice.
What
I have been waiting for
You
that.
happy now, Kristy?
I am. You made me so happy. I've been waiting for like 8 roundtables for that.
Well,
Amazing.
thank you. I
Season's
appreciate
coming
it.
That's fantastic.
It was fantastic. Yeah, and you guys were all fantastic. And thank you anybody who's watching. But thank you very much, guys, for joining me. You are the all singing, all dancing crowd. I just wanted to finish with a random Fight Club quote. That's just what's the one that came to mind. No,
Oh,
but
yeah, thanks a lot.
come on, you're all my
Yeah,
favorite. I
appreciate it.
love this so much. Like, I love seeing you guys, chatting with you, and we have such a good time. So anyone who watches the premiere as well on YouTube, feel free to add your comments if there's any more in the world that we have not discussed at this point.
In the world.
And yeah, in the world. And you know, as always, thank you guys. Be safe and kind, and have a great rest of your day, night.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
See you
Y'all
all.
come back
Been lovely
now.
to meet
Yeah.
you.